What's up, everybody? Welcome to the channel. OG here, and this is another step in our road to FC26. You can start preparing with your tactics that you will be hitting the ground running with in FC26 right this second. I'm talking about the 4-2-3-1 narrow, and yes, I am calling it the Meta Crusher because a vast majority of your opponents will be using the 4-2-1-3 and playing in the exact same ratty, non-football way. Now, as a side note, if you haven't already, you need to watch my series reacting to Inception with Nick Runs the Foot Market reacting as well. It is an unbelievable series because everything they talk about in that series of videos, which comes from a beautiful piece by Inception, which he calls a rant video, but is much more than that. I've been calling it the gospel of football games because it transcends just the FC franchise and really covers good talking points for all football games in just the state that we are in with all these football games in the direction the development company is taking them, as well as the vast majority of the player base for all these games. It's just really in an ugly spot. But we, the true footballers of the genre, can navigate through this storm and dominate while doing so, and this is part of that. The 4-2-3-1 narrow will help you play beautiful football while keeping the opponents using 4-2-1-3 in check, and your opponents using other tactics will struggle, and you will see why. So let's get into it. So here it is, the 4-2-3-1 narrow, and you see the squad. I want to talk about this because this is a second account that I just started literally a week ago or something. When you look at hours wise, it's probably like what, 6, 8, 10 hours tops. Not much time at all, but this is the speed at which you can build a team. Now, this is important for a few reasons. One, those players who are coming from eFootball or UFL, just because if we are being honest, it is a waste of time if you're looking to play good football to play UFL or eFootball right now. FC has its own problems, but by far is the best of the three games. So if you're coming over, but you're worried about keeping up with teams that have been going strong all year and being behind the power curve, as you see here, no, I don't have any of the top meta players, but yes, 1000% this team can keep up with any team my opponents might have. So that's one reason I wanted to show you this. Another is because playing with a lower rated team right now will absolutely help you. I'm not saying you can't enjoy the top players if you pack them or if you want to go purchase them, but I'm just saying not having a God Squad won't hurt you at all. It will actually help you because remember, pretty soon we start from scratch with FC26 and we build up from there. So getting used to lower quality players as well as getting used to playing well with players and teams that are lower level than your opponents, that's only going to be beneficial. Then you add in the extra work you will get with your tactics by starting training now. Oh man, you are going to hit the ground running. So what is it with the 4-2-3-1 narrow and why is it the Meta Crusher? First off, let's talk about the meta, which is 4-2-1-3 and the non-football nonsense, which, like I said at the beginning, you can get in-depth detail on this non-football era of football games in the reaction to Inception and Nick Runs the Foot Market. So make sure you catch those episodes. But getting back to the tactics, players mainly in the 4-2-1-3 are going to spam through balls. Players mainly using the 4-2-1-3 are going to play a compact system where they try to do the least amount of work defensively, hope you run into the cluster of defenders they have. Even though FC has gone more towards manual defending, they try to counter that because any shortcuts they can take, they're going to. And then as soon as they win the ball, they spam a through ball. And they do that on repeat over and over and over. And the 4-2-1-3 is perfect for it. It's compact with the settings. They have 4 players essentially constantly making runs in behind. And as soon as they win the ball, without thought, without any skill, they're just going to press triangle or L1 triangle for the lob through ball and hope that one of those 4 players runs onto it so they can get a shot on goal and hopefully for them a goal. And your job is to stop that. If you stop the through ball, you crush their entire attack because, like I said, there's no skill, there's no thought in it, there's no build up, nothing. So defensively speaking, it is not hard to stop. You just need to come up with the tactics to do so. And the 4-2-3-1 narrow offers you the formation to set up the tactics to do just that. Because you have the 4 backs, you have the 2 CDMs, which is exactly what makes the 4-2-1-3 powerful as well. But the difference is, instead of having 2 wingers pushed up next to the striker with the cam in behind, you have 3 cams, which all can manually or with settings be put to come back and help close up those holes so your opponent can't win the ball and immediately have gaps to play through balls. So we will discuss that in more depth once we go into the player roles. Now on the flip side, in the attack, you also have the same amount, if not more, potency than the 4-2-1-3. And on top of that, you actually have a setup where you can play true football, not some brainless nonsense where you're just trying to spam through balls the whole time. And this is because your 3 cams give you a variety of options, making them much more dynamic than the 2 wingers, 1 cam, and the 4-2-1-3. You can come to the ball and play tiki-taka. You can make runs in behind with your striker. Again, we'll talk about more of this with the player roles, but with your striker making the runs he's making, your cams can make those darting runs in as defenders are pulled out of place. You just have so many options. Not to mention, you have a deep-lying playmaker that can help spark attacks as well, making this an extremely dangerous and unpredictable attacking setup that your opponent will have trouble containing. Now moving on to the build-up style, you want counter. This will give your team a good amount of movement that you can then manipulate according to how you want to play. Meaning you can always change your runs, call players to, change direction of the runs, use player lock. Counter just gives you that good head start on your opponent, meaning once you win the ball, your players already are taking off starting movement. At the very least, they'll take defenders away, and then you can call them to or change their direction, giving you that space needed to then keep moving on with your attack and eventually creating those goal-scoring opportunities. As for your defensive approach, you have an option. You can either go balanced or you can go high. Now, me personally, I go high with a line depth of 70, and that is because I want to close the gap between my defense and my midfield. CDMs in a formation help this. If you don't have CDMs, you definitely want to go with a higher line because otherwise you will have a gap that your opponents can exploit. However, even with CDMs, I want that gap closed because I'm trying to prevent my opponents, who mainly, obviously, will be playing that 4-2-1-3 as we know, and they will be looking for through balls. To get those through balls to work, they need gaps, they need holes, and you will shut those down better with a higher line with a more compact team, which you will get from that 70 depth. Now moving on to player roles, I want to start with a rule of thumb, but I also want to let you know that this rule of thumb will be hard to implement because of FC's broken system with player roles. So the rule of thumb is always try to go for plus plus, because the difference between plus plus and plus, as well as plus and nothing on the player role you use, is significant, meaning that there will be a noticeable difference in the way your players play, their positioning, all of the above, when you don't have a plus plus. However, the broken part of this is that FC, especially at the beginning, doesn't offer the plus plus on many of the best player roles. Sometimes they don't even offer the best player roles because they want you yearning for more players, for more packs as they go. It's the same thing with playstyles. It's just a manipulation to get you to keep purchasing packs, to get you to keep wanting new players. So you always want to go for plus plus, but at the beginning especially, you may not be able to. So with that being said, starting with goalkeeper, I strongly recommend you go sweeper keeper and build up. You want your keeper coming off the line, ready to pounce on any through balls that get past your back line. And sweeper keeper with build up gives you the best chance of that keeper coming off the line and pouncing on those balls. Now for your back four, I strongly recommend you follow these mandatory settings for both your center backs and both your left and right back. Starting at center back, you want defender defend. Nothing else. Don't even look at anything else. It's not viable. Maybe in the future, if it is, we'll talk about it. But defender defend only, and as we spoke about earlier, preferably plus plus. With your wing backs, left and right back, you want fullback in balanced. The key here is balanced, not defend on your wing backs, because if you go fullback defense, your players will tuck in more close to the center backs when you have the ball, and you won't have that wide option, which is huge, especially when you're under pressure. If you have fullback balance, they will cover their defensive roles just the same, except when you win the ball, you will actually have passing options on both the left and the right, as your wing backs will open up, and this will be a great way to alleviate pressure and then start your build up into the attack. As for your two CDMs, you will have one true number 6, which will be on holding defend and will stay put defensively, looking to just snuff out the attack from your opposition, and then your other CDM will be on deep lying playmaker build up. This player will cover their defensive duties similar to your holding CDM, except for on offense, they will actually push up a bit and look to help spark the attack, which is an extremely important position in this setup. And now for our attacking four. We start with our three central attacking midfielders, in which we have one true central attacking midfielder and then a left and a right central attacking midfielder. So starting with the left and right cams, you will go with Shadow Striker Attack, which will cause these two players to make runs in behind, bypassing your striker at times, which will work perfectly with his setting, which will be Advance Forward Complete. Now, a lot of people go for the striker in this setup, Advance Forward Attack, which will keep that striker near the goal looking to constantly make runs and just finish the ball. Now, the difference with the complete subsetting is that your striker will make runs through on goal to finish the ball off, but they will also make runs out wide, which serves the important purpose of pulling defenders out of position, which opens up holes for your cams to run through, and then they can get chances to score goals as well. This is what I was saying by an attack that is very dynamic and hard for your opponent to shut down, because you have so many different options, whether it's your striker running through, your cams running through from deep, or playing tiki-taka with your cams, making runs, but then coming to the ball and playing give and goes, up, back, and throughs, connecting in so many different ways that your opponent won't know if and when you are going to actually pull the trigger. And that variety and unpredictability is what will keep you scoring goals consistently. Now, I saved the central cam for last on purpose, and this is because you have an option with this central player. You can either put him on Shadow Striker Attack like your outside cams, or you can put him, which is what I do, on Playmaker and Roaming. Now, before we go into why Playmaker, I want to discuss why Roaming, because you also have Balance and Build Up. In Build Up, the cam comes too far back way too often, when if you want to come back towards the ball like that, you should do it manually. In Balance, the player comes back and goes forward. However, he isn't, which in Roaming he is, able to move all around the attack, providing help where needed. So in summary, Roaming allows this player to pop up all over the place, which again adds to that unpredictability and makes it hard for your opponent to mark this player, allowing for you in the attack to outnumber and outmaneuver your opponent much easier. Now, going back to the reason for Playmaker over Shadow Striker is because I don't want all three of these players making those runs forward all the time. Just like I can manually call my outside cams back to the ball, I can manually send my central cam, my Playmaker, on runs in behind. So I will have two players starting each attack by stretching the defense, and I will have one player sitting in that number 10 spot looking to receive the ball, or I can also manual trigger him or even call him more towards me if he is being marked. So there you have it, the 4-2-3-1 narrow, complete tactical setup. Get to practicing, get to dominating, but first we have one more thing to go over. This is another rule of thumb as the game progresses, which right now you can absolutely use this rule of thumb since we're deeper into the game and most all players being released have not only all player roles in plus but also the most important play styles in plus instead of regular, which is the other rule of thumb. Try to always get these important play styles in plus if you can, or at the very least having the regular play style. Not having these important play styles can be a deal breaker, especially same with player roles in those tight games where the other player may have all these important play styles in plus. It could be the difference maker. So we are going to go through each position and talk about the must-have play styles, preferably in Playstyle Plus. Now keep in mind that each of us plays differently, and therefore we might have, or probably do have, play styles that we like our players in each position to have. But I am talking about the universal must-have play styles for each of these positions. Starting with goalkeeper, you want far reach plus if possible. This playstyle plus is known to help goalkeepers make saves that other goalkeepers wouldn't, preventing goals that many times would be in the back of the net if it wasn't for that particular playstyle. Now, I also like the keepers with the rush out playstyle plus, but that is not necessarily more important, because if you get the right jump with sweeper keeper build up, you are, despite not having the rush out playstyle or playstyle plus, going to be able to cover up the ball and prevent your opponent from getting that chance on goal. Now moving on to your back four, and we have one Playstyle Plus that is a must-have for both center backs and wing backs, and that is Anticipate Plus. Now, more than ever, this playstyle is important. It has always been a fan favorite, but with the different defensive mechanics after the last patch or whenever that patch was, it is harder than ever to defend, and Anticipate Plus is a must-have to complete tackles to prevent your opponent from getting chances on goal. For your center backs only, Aerial Plus is a must-have because if and when, and you will face them, your opponent has those strong aerial strikers, you do not want them to get easy chances on goal, whether it's from crosses or from corner kicks. You need to have at least one, preferably both of your center backs, having Aerial or preferably Aerial Plus to win those balls and again, alleviate the amount of goals you give up. For wing backs, I'm going to give you two must-have playstyle pluses, and the first one, defensively, is Jockey Plus. You need to have this because you're going to be facing with your wingbacks some shifty wingers, and you don't want to get isolated and get burned all the time. Having Jockey Plus will greatly improve your wingback's chance of not only sticking with those shifty wingers, but a greater chance at winning the ball and snuffing out the attack. The second one is a physical playstyle plus, and that is Quick Step, which makes you accelerate faster during explosive sprint, and this can help you in many ways, including getting back and tracking attackers when you are pushed up the wing. Obviously, on fullback balance, you're going to be more defensive, but you will be manually triggering your wingbacks to make runs up. You will be dribbling the ball up those wings, which in that case, Rapid Plus could also be beneficial. I just don't want to keep going down the line. I'm only going to give you a couple of the most important ones. So moving back to Quick Step, this will help you when you are pushed up to recover and catch up to those attackers so you can help win the ball and snuff out the attack. Moving on to your two CDMs, we go back to Anticipate Plus because with the new defensive mechanics, Anticipate Plus is a must-have to help you win tackles. Not only do you want Anticipate Plus for your CDMs to help you win tackles, but you also want Intercept Plus. It is extremely important, especially when you're playing against the 4-2-1-3 rats who are constantly trying to spam through balls, for your CDMs to intercept the ball, and Intercept Plus greatly increases the chances of this. Now into our attacking four, starting with our three cams who we will split into two categories, our outside cams and our central cam. But first, we will have a blanket playstyle plus that is a must-have for all three of your cams, and that is First Touch Plus, because with the way that we are going to play, we're going to have plenty of times where our cams are receiving the ball at their feet, and First Touch Plus will help us control the ball and quickly transition into our next either pass or dribble, which is extremely important in keeping possession and eventually creating chances to score goals. Now for the attack in particular, and really every player in every position, I could go on and on with important play styles, but if I have to just pick the most important, I'm going to go with, for our outside cams, Finesse Shot Plus. This is because even though they aren't wingers, they are going to have the ball at those angles pointing to the back post. Just naturally, they're going to be in those positions a lot, and Finesse Shot Plus gives us opportunities to more accurately and more precisely finish off our finesse shots, which means a lot more goals. As for our central cam, we have to go with Tiki Taka Plus, which honestly is important for all three cams. Like I said, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but I only could pick the most important, or I could go on and on. Now, on top of that, you want your central cam to have Ping Pass Plus, which is also extremely important for your CDM deep line playmaker. And while we are on the topic of passing, to be honest, all of your players, if you could, you'd want them all to have Tiki Taka Plus, Ping Pass Plus, Incisive Pass Plus, as well as Long Ball Pass Plus. Now, if you can't do this for all of your players, you would want this specifically for all of your midfielders, including your CDMs, and more importantly, your deep line playmaker, just as a side note. And this goes with the broken player roles and play styles system that FC has implemented, because you have all these incredible players that have been dissected and reduced to just these certain areas where they are excellent, instead of just allowing them to be the insane players that they are. So it is a broken system, but it is what we have. That's actually why I'm only going with the most important play styles, because really there's several for like every player on the pitch that you would want, but that's just not realistic with how FC releases playstyles. So with that being said, moving on to our striker, where we already talked about Rapid Plus. Technical Plus would be another one, not just for our striker, but that we would prefer all of our attackers to have. And again, we could go on and on, but to pick the most important finishing Playstyle Plus, because we are talking about our striker, we want the brand new Low Driven Shot Plus. Because quite frankly, this is the easiest but most efficient way to score. You simply tap the shoot button into whichever direction you want, and your player with the Low Driven Shot Plus will send a fast and extremely precise shot into whichever area of the goal you're aiming for. So there you have it, as in-depth as you can get with the tactics, the play styles, the player roles, everything that you need to start preparing right now for FC26 so you can hit the ground running. I will even venture to say that a vast majority, if not all of you, have never prepared like this before. You simply play the previous FC or FIFA all the way until the end, you go through footies, and then boom, you restart from scratch. You're shell-shocked by the difference in perfect players down to low-level players, and then you just repeat your same process over and over. This will start you in a direction of improving, of moving up, of elevating your game. The first step in doing this, understanding the game you are playing, understanding the best tactics to conquer that game. That is exactly what we started here today, and we continue moving forward from there. We are just getting started, so as always, keep grinding, keep having fun. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, make sure you join our Discord. The link is in my YouTube bio. If you're interested in more in-depth coaching, check out my memberships, or even if you just want perks such as receiving content earlier than everybody else. There are 2 levels of memberships. The highest one gives you coaching among all the other perks. The regular level gives you early content among several other perks. So check those out. If you're ever wanting to donate to the channel, we have a Cash App. We also have super thanks that YouTube has on every video. You can leave a comment, leave a donation amount. Just want to make sure you're aware of everything that we have to offer. And I will see you on the next one. Peace out.